was Amy. Right.
Sorry about that.
Okay. I was really.
Wait, you're recording. Do you want to record?
If people are comfortable
okay.
with it,
Okay.
unless you're uncomfortable with it, I'll turn it off.
But what really impressed me was when I'm not sure if it was Amy, I was brought forward the idea, look, I have people coming in at second grade reading levels. Okay, well, what we know in ABE, it takes about, several months to raise just one grade reading level. And the thought of having to get someone from second grade to succeed in college, you need 8th, 9th grade at least. And so, this is what ABE does. And you prepare people, maybe they're not going to go to college. Maybe they're going to go into nursing aides, food service. Maybe they're going to go into many other things. We have people in ABE who want to come in to learn to read the Bible. That's how ABE started in many areas. So what we have to do is think, okay, this collaboration is one pathway, but ABE has other pathways too. And I've spent my career setting up business models where I've worked with a business to have their own ABE programs. It's not for college, but what I'm doing is helping businesses train people so they've got the literacy and math to do the job. And that's, that doesn't include the dev ed at all.
All right, other reactions, other comments?
Yes, Belinda, this is Julie. I misunderstood what you were saying. I do see very clearly what you're saying now, that the data is going to show that this co-rec model is fantastic because we're actually not serving all the learners that would have been
That really need, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so that is a concern. I never would throw out I would not get rid of dev ed and move to a totally co-rec model. There will always be a need for dev ed. What I would get rid of is the sequences, like 1, 2, 3, the level of dev ed. And I think adult basic education can step in. The whole idea is, that's what they were saying, that learners languished in dev ed. Well, learners languish in ABE as well. And I think the ABE field is aware of that. And we have been working on that since like early 2005, 6. And we've been trying to say, let's do this together. Let's integrate it together to help the learners move forward. Because nobody wants to spend years in ABE only to move into years of dev ed and then finally get to the college level. They just simply won't stay. But I understand what you're saying, because the data will look good, but it's curious to know who's not in that data. Yeah.
Well, here's the data that is really important, is how many students are enrolling in college, are making it and becoming a college student. And my sense is that if you want to full tilt enrollment, every eligible student in Minnesota, and truly they need that. The systems need every student paying tuition. And if you're having a number of students that just can't get there, then your business model is not a very sound business model. So yeah, so this is great that we're having this conversation, and today we hopefully we continue to have some type of voice here in helping folks understand that this is the concern of not only adult basic education folks as they sort of observe students and understand student needs, but dev ed faculty as well, and what they know is happening in their classroom and what students can be best served and perhaps are going to be challenged by this blending of credit bearing and non-credit bearing coursework. So other comments, Larry, any comments from you? You're our TC person. Where are you at with things?
Well, I'm kind of at a nuts and bolts level. I'm trying to envision how I might get this to work. Now, the thing is, I have a college algebra course I'm a math instructor there. So I have a college algebra course, and we're just starting to run a co-rec model. It's small enrollment. I only have like 10 students right now. And I'm trying to picture this. If I wanted to have an embedded ABE instructor, first I would need to have my students take some kind of test and see how many of them qualify for ABE. And what happens if 5 of them qualify and 5 of them don't? Is how many students do you need to be able to justify, yeah, we're going to send someone over to your school? I mean,
That's a great question. Do you want to speak to that, Julie?
Yeah, and that depends on, I would say, the adult basic education program you're working with,
yeah.
and what they can. I would think, even with 5, they would provide the services to definitely those learners, but possibly if it's a co-rec model, all the learners, but only count the ABE learners. It really depends on the ABE program and what they can deliver. Ideally, they would be able to support, maybe not in the classroom all the time, but a partial being in there all the time, or doing the lab. I've heard the co-rec, there's a lot of different models, whether they're in there with the instructor or they're providing that lab or mandatory class with that co-rec. I think it depends on the co-rec model that you're going to implement, and talking to the ABE program to see how they could assist with that.
Yeah, and Julie and Larry, the key thing is mandated lab time or whatever, because what we found is that when it's, a choice for students, even though they could benefit from it, they're not always opting into it, and then not enough students are showing up then for adult basic education to collect contact hours. And then that's not a sound business model for ABE either.
right.
Plus
it would, the other concern I have is it would be different every term, I imagine.
right.
So we wouldn't even know what's going on until day 1. It's like, what do you got? Let's give a test and find out.
Well, and I would ask Patrick and other folks in these dev ed classes, when you do TABE testing or CASAS testing of that entire student body, what's the percentage of students have you found that are qualified ABE students that are in need of ABE support? Pretty high number, right?
100%.
100%?
Literally.
Right.
I'm not
But
even.
this is a college algebra course.
I'm
right,
thinking
but
we're not in that course.
Okay.
Hello, everybody.
When Russ asked me about Dev Ed students at Anoka Ramsey Community College and our Dev Ed programming, the students who are involved with anything that ABE is involved with on that campus, 100% of them TABE in a need category. Nobody maxes out an A. Nobody. Right. Amber was putting in the chat that we're somewhere between 2nd and 8th grade with our math skills level. That doesn't even take into account digital literacy and ACES TIF needs, which are high. Students have low navigation skills for the college system on top of skills deficits in the actual discipline. So 100% would be students who we could identify as need.
Patrick, I sat in at Anoka Community College when Pam Prokop was working there. And I sat in an automotive class and watched what was going on. And so many vocational teachers are actually doing an ABE job, because I visited a program that actually was trying to get people into the construction trades. And the instructor said to me, boy, in terms of maths, these guys think it's hieroglyphics. It could just as well be hieroglyphics because they are so unprepared. And that is a huge problem.
All right. Other reactions
Can you hear me?
out there?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay, this is Francois Nguyen. I'm a math instructor for many years. Yeah, I think for 42 years working with immigrants from all over the places, from Soviet Union all the way up to Ethiopian. Now we have Somalian and thing like that. So I gone through 4 decades teaching at the urban school setting. And right now, in the last 3 years, we completely abolished developmental math. We don't have, no longer we have developmental math in our college. And, we have to rely on the adult basic education people to take care for that component before they come to the college, because the legislature, they don't want to approve. They say that you take remedial in high school, why we have to pay you in college. So that basic math is gone, right? And now we have college courses. And students come in our college at very low level for sure, as you can see. And at the same time, not because of COVID, but it's traditionally, these people never had any formal education back home. So it's not really remedial math, but the legislature say that remedial math, so they don't want to pay again. All right, now that we want to trim down more classes, so that means you have to either have at the same time, we have a statistic way and algebra, college algebra way. So the student can choose what profession they go into. But I think the whole system have to be reformed in order to meet the need of the student, because we did very good job ourselves to bring the basic education people in our campus, because we don't want to segregate it. If they outside the college system, they didn't really know how to navigate around the college. So being a part, even the teaching basic education class in our college, it really helped the student to become more, they learn study skill, they learn computer literacy, they learn all kinds of stuff, and they feel a part belonging to the college, and we brought in people to teach. But then there's something that, oh, you have a credential, you don't have a credential, this and that. So a lot of fighting within the system. And I think beside what we're doing now, it's good, but also we have to work with the institutional level to make sure that all teachers have to buy in, to make sure that we're not really serving our student at all. The gap is really big right now. It's even without the vision or dictation from the Minsky system, we still have to do it, because a lot of teachers complain in a major training program, they complain that the students don't really have adequate skill to function in the regular classroom setting. So, the problem is there. Now we have a correct thing, which is, even in statistics, we have, you have to review the part of basic math first before you can take the statistics. You don't need to go to college algebra. You can just go directly to nursing. But a lot of times the major program, they have to see if they can get rid of all the requisites. So in order for a student to be able to get in, but they don't. So the student drop out. They couldn't function in college algebra. So they drop out and we're losing students. Even just want to, so the whole thing, we need to really look the whole big picture, see how can we be able to.
So Francois, what college are you with? Francois?
Yeah.
I'm with St. Paul College, right? Okay. We have a legislator come in at our meeting. We have a lobby at the MSCS. We are very the head place, to deal with the system, the political system here in the state. But we have to start doing a lot of work in order to meet the need for our student, because our student is, it's not really well served.
So what I heard at St. Paul College is that they had 6 classes of like ABE math, and and that were filled,
Exactly.
And once they moved to multiple measures, they couldn't fill any of those courses.
Right. And
they had, the students
resources. We have a computer, every student have a computer, they have a lab, they have, we have abundant resources, and the class is open. You talk about that utilize the spaces, because that's a lot of rich resources and go untapped. So that's why we brought it in full group of people over there.
Yeah, so I'm afraid that people won't try or transition as well to college. And then once they get in the classes, they will think they can't succeed and drop out. That's why I'm glad ABE is at a lot of the campuses. I think there's 42 or 47. So yeah,
Right.
I agree with you totally.
Yeah, you have to have administrator buy-in and really have to do it.
All right, so I see a couple flashes here. I think it was, let's see, Larry. Well, one was, I think, flashing, I'm leaving. So Larry, you go ahead.
Well, just speaking of this idea of not being able to fill sections. At our school, this is uncanny, but only 20% of our students have any desire to take a class. They all want online. Does ABE ever do anything online? They do? Do they do any of this ABE partnership stuff online?
Absolutely.
They do.
I'm just gonna jump in.
How does that work? Because they're not in.
Take the mic. So we actually are supporting in-person on campus classes. We are supporting synchronous online classes, and we are supporting asynchronous online classes.
Wow.
Currently with ARCC. The models obviously differ, but a lot of our work is that consultant facilitated teacher roles, particularly with the async students who are signing up but not really skilled to survive in an async environment. Our dev ed students in particularly are not like great for async, and I'm always like, there should be a guide telling them, and the navigator's got to get hold of them and get them into the building, get them in person where we can get face to face. But where we're coming in is working with, so ours is primarily math. We're working like with MOM, which is My Online Math, I think it's called, and we're in the D2L helping to guide the students. So my teachers are doing a lot of following up, making sure students are staying on pace, figuring out what's in the way. If you were in the session that Christy and Amber were talking about, Christy's like, well, I think they like Amber better because Christy's kind of like the overlord of the class, the one in charge of grading, because we don't have any role in that at all. So then I've got 4 dogs here. The role that my staff is often taking, though, is that ACEs side of things, like soft skills, life skills, how to navigate the system, how to overcome obstacles, making plans so that they can study effectively, all of those needs. So they kind of become that resource where the students kind of come and all the stuff that's going on in their life and where it's getting in the way of their success at college. So we have a large piece of that support that's happening underneath, where the discipline specifics, the content is still primarily the realm of the instructor, because that's where their great expertise lies. It's our expertise kind of comes inside from that. It took us a long time to figure out our lane. We're not there to be math teachers as much as we are there to be learning facilitators and kind of building that relationship to keep those students working towards success. But obviously we have to be at least literate in the content area as well.
So what I'm sort of hearing, Larry, is that based on your partner, your ABE partner, and you've got options in your area, you've got the Rosemont, Apple Valley, Egan ABE program in your backyard. You've got Burnsville, you've got Hastings. I think there's
South
it's what?
Suburban, yeah.
It's South Suburban, but what's the
Maybe.
Glacial? What's the one with Susie in South Wash?
Great Rivers.
Great Rivers, yeah, because they're up in the Hastings sort of area and they're on your border. So you've got options in terms of connecting with ABE programs and seeing, what they have, what kind of appetite do they have for partnering. And then what I'm hearing is, hey, there's these models over in other places that could be looked at and potentially replicated in some fashion.
Now,
Basically, I just got to reach out and see if anyone's interested.
Right. Right.
And I can help if you want to email
Yeah.
me. You can tell me and I could set up a meeting or tell you who those people are in your
Okay.
area. Yeah.
And Julie, do you want to put your email in chat
Yeah.
for Larry?
Yeah.
And
That'd be
Larry, I will
great.
say, there is a capacities question about that, not only on like staffing and how much support somebody can offer, but also the capacity as far as being able to support an online format.
Right.
I happen to have the grace of a really talented team that operates in the digital realm pretty effectively.
Pretty well.
Could I get some clarification? The very first thing I heard this morning was we need funding from somewhere. Is that something I need to worry about? Or what happens there? Is
Well,
the
it's a great
funding coming
question.
from the state government, or where's the funding coming from? Does our college have to provide some kind of funding?
Well, in a perfect world, that there should be obviously a dean, someone who's involved in your end that can take a look at what kind of funding sources, if any, could be drawn upon to help get a partnership off the ground.
Okay.
Adult basic education has what they call transitions funding that sometimes can be a source of money for the ABE side of the equation to help the ABE program with some of those upfront costs. Because the way the funding formula works for ABE is once the contact hours happen, and then they'll get paid in the future, the near future, but it's in the future. And so then that's the sustainability side on the ABE end, assuming there's enough contact hours and students within your college. That's a different question, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
What platform do you guys use in ABE for learning management system, MNS?
I think they're using Canvas now. Oh, go ahead, Patrick. They use a variety of them, but
Oh, right.
Yeah.
We're all over the board on that. Within ABE, we're using Google Classroom and Schoology and some of these others as our LMS, but with ARCC and ATC, they use D2L.
Right.
I think the technology component is very important because people talk about math and reading and math and English, but also computer literacy part is very important. And I think it is easy to make a smooth transition to college. I think the Min State now should provide the resources to you guys that we can share the same platform, all the colleges. And at the same time, like they invest over $1 million tutor.com. How many of them use online tutor?
yeah.
No, not D2L.
Yeah.
I've used D2L. No, don't use it. It will give hundreds of
It'll suck the life out of
poor
you.
users, and it drives the instructors nuts.
There was talk about adopting D2L at one point, and it was decided not to. Is it Canva or Canvas, one of those?
Canvas is really easy to use and very user-friendly, but also I think you always have to look at the low-end user. And some of my students say, look, I don't have broadband access. And so you have to take all of that into consideration when you try and provide online access to students. I mean, it really is a problem. And some people can use Google, some people can't. But Canvas is relatively easy. But actually for Patrick, if you're going to go into the vocational technical, there may be better programs available too.
There may be, but we use the platform that the college uses. Because for perseverance and staying with the college, that's the tool that those students need to become users of. We, in the ABE side of things, have found D2L to be really easy as far as replicating courses, being able to track hours and the types of things that we need in that system. It may not be ideal, but we're just going to use the tool that the college has. Because
Well, and essentially, Patrick, what the student is going to need to master, at some level, as they're in college, right,
Yeah, that's actually like the introduction to the classes is part of our
Right.
role is teaching them to use D2L so that they're ready when they enter into their classrooms.
I have taught since I've been teaching for about 20 years online. And so I have been through every iteration of platforms. And so, you know, and then you get a bunch of techies in and, oh, we're going to upgrade this. We're going to upgrade this, right? So everything you thought you knew, you then have to adapt to. So, you know, I'm a little cynical about these things, but I realize that what you said about having the technical expertise and computer literacy is absolutely key. And actually, you find a lot of new immigrants use email, particularly because they use that for contact back home. And so, you know, they do have a level of computer literacy where someone from a village in Mexico that's never had access to a keyboard before, then you've got an entirely different problem. But I'm going down a rabbit hole. I apologize.
so,
That's important in the conversation
Yeah.
as far as placement. If we know that is one of the significant skills deficits, and that's a student who really needs to be recommended to engage in person and on campuses until we can build those skills up to where they can be an independent operator outside of campus.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And with that, we're going to wrap up our conversation.
We've got to leave.
We've got things to do
Right.
with folks.
Thank you.
But thank you for hanging out. And I'm glad we recorded this. I'm going to stop the recording and thank you all for coming. And make sure you watch for that email with all of the links to video and everything else and the evaluation form. So you guys take care.
Julie,
Bye-bye.
nice to meet you.